The Federal Reserve is not an agency of the federal government. Let's prove that. Do federal agencies pay taxes on their property? No. Civil service and others. And who's under civil service? Government employees, are they not? But yet you go to property that's owned by the Federal Reserve, they pay taxes on it locally. Are there employees under civil service? Federal Reserve is not under civil service. Well, are they really a federal agency? No. Privately owned. People who own the majority of the stock in the regional banks. Then who controls the Federal Reserve? Does Congress? No. Do the American people ever vote to do anything about the Federal Reserve? No. Why? Formed in 1913 as a private entity to control the interest and the currency of America through the control of the Federal Reserve. Now let's go back to what the Federal Reserve has done to the farmer. What did they do to the farmer's crops? Well, inflation and deflation, all controlled by those who manipulate the currency through the Federal Reserve and the foreign markets. What's happened? 3 years ago, a farmer said to me, my corn was worth over $3 a bushel. Well, I said, how much was your corn worth 2 years ago? Well, he said $1.75 a bushel. Well, how much is your corn going to be worth this year? $1.25 a bushel. Well, how much does it cost you to raise that corn? $1.60 a bushel. Well, I said, how much are you projecting to get from your corn next year? He said maybe 75 cents to $1 a bushel. And I said, you tell me that you're going to plant again? He said, well, what else can I do? This is all I've ever done all my life. It's a family farm. This is a lifestyle. What else can I do? I don't know anything else. I'll just keep on planting and hope that I'll get a price for my product. So the farmer's going broke. Do you blame the farmer? Who controls the price he gets for his product? The people who control the currency of America. Who does that? Remember, over 1/2 of the owners of the Federal Reserve stock in the regional banks are not even citizens of the United States of America. So who's controlling the price of the farmer's products, and who controls the interest rate that the farmer pays to the local bank? Not the local banker, but the Federal Reserve sets the prime rate. So in basics, where is the problem? As we said, don't sweep down the cobwebs. Let's get back to the spider. And when you kill the spider, you'll not have to worry with the cobwebs anymore.
It was like a funeral. Cars driving in with their lights on, lining up along the roadside, and men gathering together, muttering quietly to one another on a cold, gray, foggy morning. It looked as though the day was refusing to begin because it knew that today there would be a funeral, and everything that Hal Brewer had ever worked for would be laid to rest.
It's a good truck, you'll be proud of it. You can just rip Hal's name off and put yours on it.
The auctioneer sat in his nice warm trailer, totally oblivious to the pain the Brewers must be feeling, interested only in selling off all they owned. As the tractor pulled the trailer along its predestined path, it left in its wake all of Hal's machines, equipment, and tools in someone else's hands. Hal couldn't stand the pain of watching all he had ever wanted and owned being sold off. He didn't want to see his friends and neighbors, and he didn't want to hear the comments of strangers. Maybe his equipment wasn't the best money could buy, but each and every piece held special memories for Hal. And now those memories were being sold right along with the machinery, and Hal simply couldn't stand it. So he stayed home. But their home is less than half a block away, and I'm sure even within those four walls, Hal can still hear the wail of the auctioneer. Hal's wife Jackie came to the auction. She couldn't stand just sitting at home, waiting and waiting. Much of their equipment went for only pennies of what it originally cost them. And with each wave of the auctioneer's cane came a new hope that maybe this piece will be sold for what it's worth. One of the saddest parts of this auction is that the Brewers don't even know if the total sale will clear their debt. They may still owe, even after all this. Ironically, Hal was one of the largest vegetable farmers in the state of Arkansas, but with the current farm philosophy, even he couldn't make things work. So as the auctioneer continues with his pleas and Hal Brewer hides within his home, the soul of one more family farmer is divvied up to the highest bidders.
Sold it. $300 right here, number 76. Same way, 76. Thank you, sir.
I've got a son now that wants to be a farmer, 23 years old. And I tell him that his mother and I could give him our land, our equipment. It wouldn't be 3 years till he'd lose it all. The fact is that we're about to lose it, and we don't owe anybody anything right now. But still, we can see the end coming, because you just can't continue operating at a loss. But if he can't be a farmer, then his children will not be able to farm. The chain will be broken. You know, we're in America where we can do as we please, we think. But all of that's quickly coming to an end if we don't change what they're doing to us.
Mona Lee and F.M. Brock lost their farm in Oklahoma to a cold-hearted system. All their lives, they had worked and tilled the land, growing food for others. And after bad weather and low crop prices took their toll, they were forced to take out a loan in order to continue operating. Less than 2 years later, without any warning, that loan was accelerated and called due, and the fight for what was rightfully theirs began. The home they had built, the land they had cleared, all the things they had worked so hard for were suddenly at risk. They wrote to congressmen, senators, and even the president, but their cries fell on deaf ears. Instead of receiving help, they were lied to, intimidated, humiliated. And none of it made any sense to them. It was like living in a nightmare. Their last resort was to file a lawsuit, but FM's heart could no longer stand the strain. The doctor told Mona Lee that to continue the fight would surely kill him. So Mona Lee and FM gave up their home and their way of life, but kept something that's very important to them.
They might take away every cotton-picking thing that we have and that we own, but there's one thing they're not going to take away, and that is the truth, the honesty, the integrity, our love for our country, our love for our God, and our self-worth and our self-concept. They are not going to do it.
Mona Lee became a counselor for the Farm Aid Hotline in Oklahoma, but she continues her fight alone because the man who stood by her side all those years left this world. And for the first time since their fight began, F.M. Brock is resting peacefully. But right before FM died, he told his wife to never stop fighting for the farmer, because to give up would be like giving up on America. So Mona Lee spends her days and nights fulfilling her husband's last wish. She quietly hides her own pain deep within her and spends her energies trying to ease the pain of others.
And when farmers look at me and tell me, they will say, Mona Lee, I'm going to tell you something. I have a problem. I've never heard the name of this farmer before in my life, and in all likelihood I will never meet him this side of heaven. But he will say, I have a story to tell you and you won't believe it. Oh yes, I will believe it, because I have lived through this, and these stories that these farmers tell that are so horrifying and so hard and so unbelievable is the truth, because that farmer does not lie.